Hi, I'm Therese Swenson, and I'm here at the Siskiyou Media Council studio in Weed. We're located on the by the kiosk, where the ATM kiosk is at the back entrance of the college, and the studio has a green screen so you can make it look like I'm somewhere else. And I'd like to invite you to get involved. I try to get everybody involved in public access because we need people to be involved so that we have more content on our station. Channel 15 is in Mount Shasta, MCTV, Mountain Community Television, and Wairika has a station, YCTV, and that's Channel 4. I'm here today to talk to you about COVID-19. Now, you probably notice everywhere you go, they're now wanting to take your temperature. And of course, they're asking us all to wear masks. And it's important. I'm having this meeting with you today because we're finding that mask resistance runs deep in Siskiyou County. I tried to get Sheriff Lope to come and impress upon everyone how important it is. I had a little incident last week. I was downtown when someone was asked to wear a mask, and he was really adamant. And I know he's probably rehearsed this on several stores, that I'm not sick, he said. And she said, well, it's just a requirement to come in the store. And he said, well, I freedom, it was about freedom of choice. And I'm discouraged that we've gotten such a mixed message from our administration. Our United States hasn't had a cohesive, coherent message. Now, it's true in the beginning, we weren't sure how it was spreading. We thought maybe it was everything we touched. And so we were very afraid about that, and we really reinforced this hand washing, asking people to wash their hands for a continued length of time. And in the beginning, the PPEs, these masks, were so important for frontline workers that they were kind of telling people, well, if you're not sick, don't wear one. So it's true in the beginning that we were not encouraged to wear masks. But as the months have gone along, they have found that community spread, after they've found out how people got sick, they found that they've done tests about what we expel when we speak and when we yell and when we sneeze. And each one is at a different distance that it goes out, the moisture droplets go out into the room. So they're really encouraging all of us to wear a mask. A lot of people probably have had, maybe had the infection, COVID-19, and so they have antibodies, and but they may not know that they're asymptomatic, but they can still pass on the water droplets, because as you inhale this, your body starts to reproduce it. It's kind of trying to save itself. And we don't have a cure. And what's critical about this, the people that say, I don't need a mask, I'm not going to wear one, is it's really only thinking of themselves saying, I'm not going to get it, or if I do, I want herd immunity. And what it's not dealing with is all the people that you come in contact with. You could be sending home the virus to their family. And, if I wear a mask, it doesn't affect you. But if you don't wear a mask, it could affect me. So that's why it's so important that we all wear a mask for each other. Now, it's been said that the people that have the highest incidence of possibly getting very sick are people that have compromised immune systems. Maybe they've had a cancer and they've been treated with chemotherapy and it might have reduced their immune response. And it's people with diabetes have trouble fighting this off. They're finding people that are overweight, when they put them in a hospital bed, their weight weighs against their lungs, and this affects the lungs. The first place this COVID has been really found is that people, when they get to the hospital, because it comes on suddenly, they maybe have a fever, or they can't taste food, or they have a high temperature, but within a day or two, they're serious all of a sudden, and they can't breathe, and they go to the emergency room. The other reason we're asking people to wear masks is just to slow it down. It's something we can do. Because we all say, well, what can I do about it? It's something we can do, is to wear a mask, even if we just slow it down. Because as you can see in New York, they were able to eventually, by stringent measures of staying in and wearing masks and washing, they were able to reduce the spread. It's still going to spread around our communities until we have a vaccination. So this is a serious, contagious virus. And people say to me, well, it's just like the flu. Well, the difference is we do have some immunizations against the flu, and the flu doesn't kill you. Yes, some older people have been taken by the flu, but 2,000 people dying a day is not the flu. Now, a lot of people say they're just calling all deaths COVID. No. Just because a lot of people tested positive, it doesn't mean they're going to die. But what it means is that the virus is spreading through the community. So the weaker ones of us, or the elders, which I have a lot of gray hair, I'm one of the elders, we're more susceptible. So we have to be careful. We should all be very careful if we have any asthma or breathing, lung, the heart, anything upper respiratory that you have a weakness or you're already being treated for, you really need to stay in and stay away and have somebody else do your shopping, because it would not be good for you to get this infection. And some people get it and they recover. That's true. But what they are finding is that it leaves a damage to the lungs. It reduces the lung capacity. So they have said that if you're a swimmer, you can try and increase that again. Or, you could probably do exercises and try and gain back some of the lost lung capacity. But it does affect us in a long-term way if we get the disease and we recover from it. So I want to remind people that this is so very important, and we really have, the state of California has made a decision that any store that you go in, that you should wear a mask. Anytime you're in a space where you're passing people, we need to restrict the droplets that are in the air. Now, they are finding ways to ionize and blue light and what was the other word she used? Annie said they had a machine that did, what was it she said, John? It had a blue light that was called ultraviolet. And then she said that had what is it that does to a room?
Ozone?
She had ozone. And it had one other thing that it did to the room. Starts with I. Starts with I, and it does ionized. So it ionizes the particles, it ozonates the particles, and it puts the blue ultraviolet light. Now, but what was interesting that she said was, it's very important that you don't just hear that and go, oh, I'm going to rush out and get a blue light. I'm going to rush out and get ozone, because they make ozone machines and things. But you got to be really careful about the amount, because it could affect your light, and the ozone could affect your lungs. And it's very important to have the proper amount that you get. So they have this machine at night in her chiropractic office. It will work all night to take care of all the droplets and moisture and viruses in the air, and it brings them to the ground. And when you're there during the day, they can put it on a lower strength so that if you're interacting and if any viruses are in the air, it captures them. I don't really understand the science behind it, but what I want to suggest is they are creating machines to try and help us kill the virus. And we are finding that if we're outside, it's less likely to spread. So it's important, if you're going to sit outside and visit, that you're 6 feet away, because they feel that might be safe. But there was something else I wanted to say is be careful for your seniors. I've said this before, but we need to advise people, like there might be people that are elders that live at home alone and they can take care of themselves. They really need to be warned about scams. And they need to be warned that somebody might come to the door and say, I have this machine that'll take the virus out of the house. Well, they really need to be sure it's not somebody that just has a machine that just is a air purifier where it just runs it through a filter. We just don't want people to get taken advantage of. So be careful for elders and seniors and people that live at home that somebody doesn't scam you. Because now that we've got so many people that are looking for ways to be well and get the economy open, we don't want to get scammed. So I also want to remind you that the other reason you want to go outside is vitamin D. Now you can take supplements of vitamin D and that's good. But for many years, people worked outside in their gardens and walked and rode bikes, and we've become, even with COVID making us stay indoors, we've become a society that has gotten less sun because we're afraid of it, that it might cause cancer or something. But we do know now that if you're not burning in the sun, you're not likely to, well, I don't want to say you won't get cancer, but I want to say you will absorb vitamin D. So that's really important to get in the sun and take a walk. And if you pass somebody, I had Annie on the show last week. She said, just take your mask and put it on while you pass somebody. And after you walk by them 6 feet, and then you can take it off and enjoy your walk. So it's not that we have to wear a mask 24 hours a day. But anytime we're passing people or being around people, we need to realize that we can slow this down so that our hospitals don't get overrun with people that can't breathe and need assistance. And the problem is when the hospital gets full, regular things like people that have heart attacks or have other reasons that they go to the emergency room, there's no beds for them. And they're also then compromised to come into a place that has the virus. So it's really important. I don't know how to explain to people that are adamant that it's their personal choice. And it is their personal choice in their house, in their car, in their home, on their property. But when they come into the community, we want this economy to recover. And this economy can't recover if people are afraid to go out because they might get exposed. So we need the people to feel safe where they go. And people will spend money if they feel safe. But otherwise, the economy can't get going if all of a sudden we opened up and now people are all sick again. We need to feel confident that where we're going will be protected. So if you don't want to wear a mask, just don't go anywhere where other people are. It's not fair to other people for you to say, I'm not sick, I may be asymptomatic, but I don't care. We need to care about everybody because no man is an island. There's people that give you your groceries and people put gas in your car in Oregon. And I really would like to encourage you to think it's not just about you and saying you don't care if you get sick. It's the fact that so many people can share this. Right now, our president has given mixed messages. Well, actually from the beginning. But this week even, he came out with a message and said, yeah, wear a mask when you're around people. And then he held 2 rallies where they handed out masks and said, it's up to you. And it just seems to me irresponsible to give a double message and to not follow the science. And I know people don't always get their news from more than one source. So I'm just pleading with you to consider wearing a mask, always having one with you whenever you're going to be within 6 feet of people or for any length of time. It's really important to protect everybody. So anyway, this one person that I ran into and he said, I'm not sick. And I just asked him, have you ever known anybody that's had cancer? He's, yeah, my dad. And I said, for your father, wear a mask. Because his immunization, his response to fight the virus is compromised. So I was discouraged that this person was so adamant and believed that, he said, you're a Democrat. I said, this has nothing to do with who I vote for. This has to do with all of us wanting to protect our whole community. And now we're over 130,000 people, I think, have died. And they're saying that if we just let it run rampant, it could be 1 million people. Well, pretty soon it's going to be somebody in everybody's family. And that brings up another point. Of those 130,000 people that died, how many of them had a will and a trust? I'm thinking that some of those people went to the hospital thinking they would come home, not realize that this was going to compromise their breathing. And the reason that's so important is that's how all of your organs get their oxygen, is it makes your organs suffer. So it's so important to have a good oxygen content, and that's why they sometimes put people on a ventilator to help them breathe. But if you haven't done a will or a trust and you feel that you're, you really need to remember that you are vulnerable and you could get it and you could go to the hospital in a short amount of time and maybe not come home. I'm not wishing that on anybody. I'm just saying if you have not told people what you wish, it's important. And also there's that other POLST doctrine, P-O-L-S-T. It's a physician's order of life-sustaining treatment. And that's something that usually your doctor asks for and you just goes in your file at your doctor's office. And generally if you come in the hospital, they'll ask you to sign it. So let me just describe what it means. This document allows them that if for any reason your brain goes flat or you're not ever going to be able to see and walk and breathe, and it allows them to stop the ventilator. And if they put you on one. So the POLST doctrine is really important actually for all of us to just have one on file at a doctor's office that says, hey, I really want my organs to go to somebody and I really don't want to be just kept alive on a machine. So that's an important document as well, the POLST document, P-O-L-S-T. You can look that up on the Google. But please, everybody, think about whether or not your affairs are in order and maybe sign a pink slip if you're going to give it your car to your sister, as I've said before. Just think about wearing a mask for anybody that you care about or anybody that you love. It really can save a life. And the washing of the hands, what's important is when you come in from being out of town, the first thing you should do is walk over and wash your hands. And make sure to wipe down any surfaces that you might have touched, wipe off your phone. I was thinking I don't carry a big purse anymore because I don't want to set it down where it might pick up the virus. So I want to tell you that it's so important washing your hands, but also washing down the surfaces. And think about your phone and your computer. And if you're all sharing it in a household, you want to just, all of you need to be washing. It's the one thing we know, the soap and water for a little bit of time will kill the virus. So thanks for listening to me. I just want to encourage you to wear a mask and just everybody should have one. And if you don't have one, I know that the hospital has them at the front door. So you could ask for one and just say, look, I can't afford to buy one. I'd like to have one. They'll give you one. And thanks for listening to me, Therese Swenson. My show is called About Town, but it's also These Times, because these are tough times. And so I just wanted to talk again about wearing a mask, and it's not just for you not getting sick. It's to at least spread the curve so that when it does come to our community, and it is coming, I know everybody thinks it's over, but it's just now starting to increase and multiply exponentially. And I don't want the hospital workers to run out of PEs, and I don't want them to run out of rooms, and I want the emergency room to be available for people that really need it in an emergency of life-threatening that isn't COVID. So anyway, think about it. I just want you to think twice. It's so important to wear a mask. I know that it's in the paper and it's mask resistance runs deep in Siskiyou County. I understand, but it's not just for you. It's for somebody that you love. Thanks, Therese Swenson. And accept the things you're powerless about. I like to give everybody a word for the day. And carpe diem, it's like seize the day. Put whatever disappointments you have behind you and start out and say, of course, we live in a beautiful place where the air is clean and the water's good and we have this beautiful mountain to look at. So get out and take a walk and just be careful. And hone your powers of observation everywhere when you're out in public, everything you touch. Just think about it, because you go through a door that somebody might have just rubbed their nose and touched the door, or you use a keypad. So important to wash your hands. The doctors in the hospitals have said that if they wear a mask and wash their hands, they've been able to keep from contracting the virus. But in the beginning, they didn't have enough PPEs. And now I'm hoping that we've geared up in America and we're producing enough. I do see the calls are still going out that they're running out. So this is so important in America. We need to have protective equipment, PPE, protective, I don't know what the real PPE means. Anyway, thanks for listening. Therese Swenson. See you next time.